Nice. Well, it
Yeah.
is spooky season. It is October, and one of the more anticipated horror films of the year has released, and we have some two polarizing opinions on this. So, Smile came out. A lot of people were looking forward to it. It had the viral marketing campaign that everyone saw behind baseball stadiums, where there were just people smiling into the cameras. But Seth, I'll give you the ball first because Cam and I were too scared to see this. Cam and I will be back when we talk about Hocus Pocus 2. That's about the level of horror that Cam and I want to go into. But for Smile, Seth, take it away.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, like a lot of people didn't like my opinion on this film, and I first of all, I do want to say that I do get why people like this or liked this. I do kind of understand it. I just think for me there was a lot that I didn't like, and I can compare it to a lot of films as we've spoke about before. But the main thing for me that it is a self-aware horror. It knows it's not a great film. It's there is some good shots, there's some effective jump scares, but for me, I never felt unsettled or scared at any point. And that's not me saying that, oh, I don't get scared of horror films because I've got scared of plenty of horror films. But those sort of run of the bow, just uh, very basic narrative. George didn't agree with me on this, but pretty bad performances in my eyes throughout a lot of the cast, apart from what was it, Susie Bacon? Is that her name?
Yeah,
She
Kevin
she was
Bacon's
pretty good.
daughter.
Yeah, she was fine. And I just think that for me, the kind of the basic horror with the simple narrative, a few effective jump scares there now and then, but it just came across as very unoriginal. I don't really like that style of film. I don't really like how they try to play it off a lot of the times, like going detective throughout it. If they've just stuck to maybe just the horror principles and it just be a jump scare fest, then I would have been like, okay, fair enough. But I think they tried to do more with it than they could. And I think I was disappointed because the trailer looked scary. Like it looked creepy. It looked like it was something that was going to unsettle me. But for me, it just didn't have that impact. And I really just didn't like the film. But I mean, if you liked Malignant, I think you'll like this. That or It Follows, Malignant. They're the sort of films, George, I'm sure he'll agree. George really liked both those films. I didn't really like both of those films. It Follows was okay, actually. But yeah, I think if you like those films, you'll probably like this. If you don't like those films, you probably won't like this. It's just that style. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it.
George.
Oh,
George, you're
he's
muted, by the
muted.
way.
He's muted. This guy.
That's my fault. That's my
This
fault.
guy.
I had to cough and I forgot to unmute myself.
You silly goose.
Yeah, I mean I guess first off, I love that we have separate opinions. I think that makes this conversation significantly more interesting. But yeah, all the reasons why Seth didn't like this movie are all the reasons why I love this movie, or I wouldn't say love. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think it was a very well executed horror movie, but I also do love It Follows. I love Malignant so much, especially It Follows. That lands very high on my all-time horror rank. So I'm a big fan of these corny, campy, very self-aware horror films because, like I mentioned in my TikTok review, the idea of a smile haunting you and possessing you and throwing you into a state of depression, it's an absurdly ridiculous concept, and this film did not take itself too seriously because if it had tried to take itself too seriously, I think it would have fallen flat on its face. But I think they really nailed the appropriate combination of psychological horror and effective jump scares, because I think I'm in the same boat as you as jump scares. I think they can be cheap. I think they're very effective, but it's a cheap way of scaring someone. They were pretty few and far between in Smile, and they did a good job. And then that final 25 minutes, I don't think I'm overselling it to say that that's just some of the best horror I've ever seen. That whole sequence of events, and I'm not going to spoil it, of her going to her young house up until the end. I have not stopped thinking about the final shot in this movie. I know a lot of people are saying it's a ripoff of A24's Saint Maud, which I totally understand. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but they end pretty much the exact same way in the last shot. I didn't think the acting performances were terrible. I think Susie Bacon, or whatever her name is, did a very good job as the
Do you know
lead.
she's actually related to Kevin Bacon? I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, he's his daughter, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
The only genuinely questionable performance was her husband.
Did you not? Wait, which was the fiance or the ex?
Yeah, it's the fiance. Sorry.
I thought I thought the ex was really bad.
Oh,
That's
really? I thought he was fine. I mean, he did. Listen, I don't think he didn't need to stress any actual acting talent.
Well, okay, so for those of you listening who didn't just see on video, so Cam just joined our call twice. So there's two Cams, mirrored images. So we had two Cams in the call, and we all just got jump scared by Cam Walsh in the middle of his smile.
I'm sorry for the internet problem.
Can we not cut this part out?
No, we're not cutting this. We're keeping this.
That's amazing.
It's
like a jump scare.
To everyone listening, keep in mind this is episode 4, so we're still figuring shit out. So
I've turned off the football game. I turned off the Wi-Fi on my phone. I'm sorry.
I can't wait to rewatch that to see
That's
if
gonna be
it's something.
so funny.
That was amazing.
What the hell?
Right, anyways,
carry on, George. Sorry.
It just in conclusion, I think the fact that you don't love campy, corny horror is just the reason why you didn't love this movie. But I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I like that type of horror, and I'm also, as much as I love horror, I scare pretty easily still. So even though this wasn't, pulse level horror, I was still pretty frightened.
My question to you would be like, so I would differentiate being scared by a jump scare or being shocked than being actually scared, and this was the issue I had with it. Whereas, okay, the jump scares were jumpy at times and they were quite effective, which I don't think is particularly hard to do, as you say. It's quite cheap a lot of the time. But did you feel like I left the cinema theater, whatever? I left and I didn't really feel any type of being unsettled. The film didn't play on my mind at all. Like It Follows, for example. I didn't love It Follows because it is that kind of self-aware campy horror. But that had a really intriguing concept, and that actually left me feeling unsettled because it wasn't riddled with these generic jump scares, which I don't really value. Yeah. So my question to you is, did you feel unsettled after the film, like after the fact?
I mean, listen, Smile is not a movie I'm losing sleep over. I will say, I have not stopped thinking about that. I love, you haven't seen Watcher yet, but it's the same thing. The final shot of that movie, it's just something I haven't stopped thinking about. But no, from a psychological perspective, this is not a movie like Hereditary that's, gonna genuinely like fuck me up. Like, it's just a very B tier, decently executed, self-aware horror film that I was not mad about watching. Like, I was intrigued by what I was watching. I thought it was a decently compelling story about taking this ridiculously absurd concept and, dragging it across a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, I get it. Like I said, I completely understand why people would like this. It's just not for me. Especially, I think, like, if like I said, if you like Malignant, you like It Follows, you will like this film. That's guaranteed. But if you don't, you're probably not going to like this film. It is very polarizing. But yeah, I did I say my score? I don't think I did.
No.
So I give it a 1.5, which on reflection may be harsh. I'll be honest. Maybe it could be increased to a 2. And obviously, George gave it a 3.5. Yeah.
3.5.
So yeah, we have very different views, but give it a watch. Let us know what you think. Yeah, like I said,
my wife, she loves horror, so like that's why I've probably seen a lot of horror movies, and I text you guys all the time, like looking for a horror, and George always pulls like an A24 film out of his ass, and she doesn't like A24 because it's not like it's. I agree with her in the sense, like, a lot of A24 movies aren't like horror, and they're more like make you feel uncomfortable. That's why I think George like loves a movie that just makes you feel uncomfortable for 2 hours. But she like, this is a kind of horror movie that she like would really like. I think, a lot of jump scares. Like, I don't know if it's like possession or some sort of evil, whatever.
From what you're saying, I agree. I think
so I unfortunately think I'll be seeing this one sometime soon. And I'll probably think about it for forever. Like George, you said afterwards.
I don't think you will.
Think about it.
I think Cam will.
I can't go downstairs at night without seeing the fucking Nun. From
that was terrible, but that was
no, the Nun movie's terrible. I think Conjuring 2 is not horrible.
Cam, when are you seeing Pray for the Devil?
Never.
Okay.
Never. That might be one she wants to see too, so I might have to.
I will say, it's funny that you brought up A24 horror, because I have one draft in TikTok, and that's my top 10 A24 horror films.
Of course it is, man.
And I'm probably going to post today or tomorrow.
Of course it is. It's gonna be like X, Pearl,
You'll
The
have to wait and see.
Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse is it.
So
All
good.
right.
So
All
good.
right.
We'll carry
I
on
won't,
anyway.
I won't guess George's entire list, but I'm sure I can.